What is going on, everybody? Happy Friday. A little chilly out here, but I hope you're all doing well. So I got some Yankee rumblings for you, some Yankee intel for you, in free agency and trade. Talk a little bit about how Omar Minaya and Brian Sabean tie into all this stuff and where they could be most useful and helpful. And I'm also going to add a trivia question. You guys kicked butt. You crushed it in the New Year's live stream, and it was a lot of fun. You had 10 questions. I'm just going to add one question a day for fun. And since things are so slow right now in January and February, it is every year in baseball, let's have some fun. I'll throw a different trivia question at you. Don't Google it right away, okay? Try to answer it. Put on your thinking cap for 20, 30 seconds and try to put forth an answer in the comments. And I want to see what you all come up with. And but again, don't Google it right away, okay? But and by the way, if you like trivia, we're going to have some fun. You like good old Yankee content, Yankees not, and you haven't subscribed to the channel, I hope that you do. And if you do, share it with a friend or two that might be baseball fans or Yankee fans that you think might enjoy it. I thank you either way. It just shows that you find the content valuable and enjoyable, and it motivates me to continue to be consistent putting that stuff out for you. It's my goal to you, my promise to you to do that, okay? We got some sawing going on in the background. I'm having some work done, so my apologies there. Now, let's talk about the trade piece, potential trade piece. We're hearing from whether SB Nation or NJ.com or rumblings around baseball that outfielder Seth Brown from the Oakland A's might become available, okay? And might be available in trades. So, and again, I'll give this to the Yankees. The Yankees have had more success trading with the A's when it comes to offensive players, not pitchers, okay? Whether it be small pieces or big pieces. I mean, their last big significant trade where they brought in a hitter was 1959. They acquired Roger Maris, but he used to be the Kansas City A's at that point, okay? And they sent out Don Larson to Kansas City A's in a bigger multiplayer trade. So, but they got Maris in 59, 2 years before he hit 61, and 3 years after Don Larson threw the perfect game in the World Series for the Yankees, where he did that in 56. So, but he's an outfielder who hits lefty. He's got 4 years of control. He also has the ability to play infield, most particularly first base. So, value his versatility and his potential pop too in his bat. Okay, let me give you a snippet. He hit 20 home runs in 2021, but in 2022 he hit 25. Okay, batted 230, 1.7 WAR. So some of those stats aren't flashy, but you know how the Yankees like power bats, particularly from the left-handed side. And if this guy can play outfield, left field, and he's got 4 years of control, they might be able to get him on the cheap when it comes to payroll or salary. So, and with this, a lot of talk about the Yankees acquiring Bryan Reynolds. And obviously, he's still my first choice. The price tag is obviously astronomical, and the question is whether they're going to be willing to pay it. I've heard recently, too, from MLB insiders, even Pittsburgh beat writers who think Bryan Reynolds will be traded at some point soon. And we're hearing that it sounds as if they want Jason Dominguez and Oswald Peraza in any trade, along with other pieces. So, I don't know if that's going to happen. Personally, I would give up Dominguez, but not Peraza. And like I said, too, if I'm going to give up Dominguez for a guy like Bryan Reynolds as well as some other players, I want an extension to happen, too. Okay, and we've talked about this extension. Bryan Reynolds asked for one from the Pirates, and they were about $60 million apart. And I also heard that he would like an extension, and his camp would like an extension that's close to like Matt Olson, which was 8 years, $168 million, which is $21 million per. So for his production, similar production as Matt Olson, that represents good value for him. And again, keep in mind, let's just say it's 8 years, you get him from his 27 to 35 seasons, not 31 to 39. So you're taking advantage of more prime years. He switch hits, he runs the bases, he does a lot of the things that represent needs for the Yankees. So he would be worth trading for. But again, I would not go Peraza and Dominguez. I would go Dominguez and some other players as well. But we'll see if they're actually able to do that. But now, Seth Brown, again, this guy he could get for a heck of a lot cheaper than Bryan Reynolds, even with 4 years of control. So now let's pivot to free agency, okay? Because the name being talked about on a regular basis now is Jurickson Profar. He used to be the number one prospect in all of baseball, okay, when he was with Texas. So he's been around a bit. He's 29 now, and his versatility is not the same as it was before. He used to be a super utility guy. Okay, played the infield and the outfield. And I think we have a guy at home named Oswaldo Cabrera who can do that perfectly. He can be the Yankees' version of Ben Zobrist, which is where I think he's best suited, personally. And again, with the depth that we already have in the infield, and making, potential that Torres might get moved, you'd probably have DJ LeMahieu then at second until Volpe comes, and then they'll figure that out at some point too, how to manage that calculus. But you'd have a guy like Seth Brown who can also back up Rizzo at first base, so we'll get a little bit more positional versatility. And the Yankees they like their veteran players too to complement the young players. So this guy represents a good fit who can kind of cover both areas. And giving guys regular rest will be a good idea. And I think Seth Brown would get plenty of playing time anyway, mostly in left field, if Bryan Reynolds thing doesn't happen. And we're also hearing they expect him to be traded. To who, we have no idea. So, but again, keep in mind too, and Oswaldo Cabrera being a super utility guy, he can back up every position pretty much in the infield and the outfield, and he plays them both well. Okay, particularly the outfield too. And when you give these other guys a rest on a regular basis, even if it's rotating rest, he's going to get regular playing time anyway. It's not like he's going to ride the bench 4 days a week. He would get plenty of playing time being the utility guy. Look at Ben Zobrist. He get plenty of playing time. He's almost a full-time player. So, and I think the same thing can happen for the Yankees. So that encourages me. But back to Jurickson Profar, 2022 stats. Okay, he was a 3.1 WAR player. So that alone leads me to believe he's going to get paid a pretty decent amount. And the Yankees' objective is to stay under the Steve Cohen threshold. They've made that clear, which is $293 million. They're only $3 million away. So unless they move a player and shed some salary, I can't see them bringing in a Profar because he's going to cost more than $3 million a year. Okay, 3.1 WAR, 15 homers, 58 ribbies, 36 doubles. Okay, and again with the 3.1 WAR, that is good contact with some solid power, but again, he's primarily in the outfield now, so it doesn't fit that positional versatility. But again, it doesn't need to because the Yankees are looking to get more athletic and more protection in left field. But they've also shown a willingness to go with Oswaldo Cabrera or Aaron Hicks to be the starting left fielder. So we'll see what happens there. But I would much rather have a left fielder and Oswaldo Cabrera playing super utility. Have both these guys bats, both their athleticism and energy in this lineup. Not one or the other. I'd rather have both. Okay? And I think it's easier to move on from Aaron Hicks than it is Josh Donaldson. But Josh Donaldson only has 1 more year left, so he's not going to tie them up long term. Gleyber Torres, to me, seems to be the most movable trade piece. He obviously has the most trade value. We've talked about this as well. But I wanted to focus on Seth Brown today and Jurickson Profar. And how do these other guys tie in? How does Sabean tie into this? How does Manai tie into this? Well, these guys are known for being experts in scouting, drafting, player development. Sabean was a scout in the 80s with the Yankees. He was instrumental in the drafting of the core 4, okay, along with Stick Michael in the beginning parts of that dynasty. Just like Brian Cashman was instrumental with Stick Michael and the back end of the dynasty. He's the guy that took over for Gene Michael and Bob Watson. So I think it's important to give him credit too. If we're going to give Brian Sabean credit for that stuff and credit for helping to build a Giants dynasty in 2010, 12, and 14, then I think it's important to give Cashman equal credit, despite so many people saying it was all Stick. It was not all Stick. Okay, that's obvious. I mean, look at the moves that Cashman has made. I know people want to move on from him, but who would we move on to is the question. And who is going to stay that long and provide that many championships, that many wins and whatnot. So, but again, there are things I don't like about Cashman either. But would that core 4 have won those championships in 2009, 1998, 99, 2000 without the moves that Cashman have made? I don't think so. Whether it be all these guys from El Duque to Scott Brocious to Soho to David Wells to Roger Clemens, like all the people, David Justice, people that played instrumental roles, CC Sabathia, Mark Teixeira, like Nick Swisher, all these guys played part, and Masahiro Tanaka. I mean, the list goes on and on. Okay, and these are all Brian Cashman moves, every single one of them. No, he didn't draft any of those guys in the core 4. He did take a part in drafting Aaron Judge though, so. And Anthony Volpe, the guys that we love now, that we don't want them to trade, all Cashman drafts. All of them. So, as much as people don't want to give him any credit at all, I want to give him at least that. Okay? But let me make it clear, again, there are moves that he could do better. And I like the fact that he acknowledged it by hiring these guys. And he knows he can't do it all himself. He's not great at everything. So bringing in people who can help them in drafting and scouting and player development is instrumental. Both of these guys have been way instrumental. And Omar Minaya was instrumental in bringing in Sammy Sosa, Juan Gonzalez, like guys back in the day. He's an expert at identifying talent. GMing for the Mets was not his thing, and that's okay. We don't need him to be that, okay? And that's the other thing as well. Bringing in guys where the Yankees would be better at drafting and better at scouting players, because far too often have they drafted or signed a player either on a high signing bonus or in a high early rounds and turned out to be a bust. Far too often has it happened for the Yankees. That's why he's bringing in guys like this who can help, bring expert eyes and experience to an analytically obsessed organization. So I think hiring these guys is going to, give them a lot. It's going to be like a three-headed monster, essentially. Cashman, Sabean, and Manaea. I think there's a lot of great things that these guys can do. So I'm excited as to what they can bring to this franchise. And maybe they'll be instrumental in bringing in Bryan Reynolds or something like that. You never know. I mean, this is where, again, the experience and the relationships as they are forged around baseball can come in handy. Because not everybody likes to deal with Brian Cashman. We know that. Okay? He can be tough to deal with sometimes, but he's also very, very savvy and experienced. And again, I like the fact that, he just put things aside and brought guys out here to help rank the ship, to help them in areas where they could be stronger. This is not a Cashman ego thing. Okay, never was. Okay, but doing this is a good thing. I'm happy that they did it, but that's to me how they tie into this stuff. Okay, but let me know what you think about Seth Brown. Let me know what you think about Profar. Okay, and let me finish with a trivia question. All right, it's a question that I forgot about this, but who invented the game of baseball? Who did it? Okay, that's the question for today. Don't Google just yet. 20, 30 seconds. Put your thinking cap on. See if you can get it. If not, go to Google. Put the answer in the comments. So I have a feeling I'm going to see a lot of the same answer. But that's the question of the day. Talk to you later.